Tom Bower, the legendary royal author, is sharpening his quill for a new edition of his book set to reveal huge secrets inside Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's marriage.
My name is Meghan Markle. I'm 12 years old.
Hey, wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. There's something incredibly fishy, and expose how old she really is.
Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong?
Is stuck because she was an actress who became a real princess, who wants to be an actress again, but has to continue to pretend to be a real princess.
Tom Bower has sparked fresh controversy with comments that could put Meghan Markle's legal team under even more pressure. He explained his approach by saying, "I choose people who don't want to be written about, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want to." That mindset has made him one of the most relentless royal biographers. Now he's publicly questioning whether the Duchess of Sussex has been truthful about her age for more than 2 decades, a claim that has quickly fueled debate and raised even more questions about her public story.
Today felt like the perfect day to address a theory that many people out there have been speculating on, that Meghan Markle has lied about her age. Is she actually older?
According to Tom Bower, the evidence he has gathered is extensive. He points to magazine archives, university records, and accounts from people connected to Meghan's past. Music, arguing that together they reveal a pattern he believes deserves closer scrutiny. Whether those claims hold up is still widely debated, but they've reignited questions that many thought had already been settled.
Is Megsy really lying about her age? Now, when you Google her, it says that she was born on the 4th of August 1981. And with today being her birthday, as of me recording this video, it's saying that she's 44 years old.
But here's why this story is getting so much attention. This time, Tom Bower says his questions are based on records he believes support his investigation, including official documents. He argues those records deserve closer examination and could challenge parts of Meghan's public narrative. His claims remain disputed, but they've reignited a debate that refuses to disappear. And according to multiple reports, Meghan is said to be deeply frustrated by the renewed scrutiny.
Yeah, she had a very clear idea of where she wanted her path to take.
Before we get into the age controversy, it's important to understand why Tom Bower's claims attract so much attention. Music. He's not known as a tabloid reporter chasing headlines. Bower is a veteran British investigative biographer whose work has focused on high-profile public figures, including Robert Maxwell, Muhammad Al-Aid, Simon Cowell, and then Prince Charles.
So many surprises, by the way, tucked away in your book. Everybody is already buzzing because you reveal that Simon is not a fan of Jennifer Lopez. I was not aware of this. You say he can't stand her. So set the record straight for us, Tom. What's his beef with J-Lo?
Well, he just found her just too vain and too self-interested, which seems like he met his own match. But in the end, Simon doesn't really like many celebrities. I noticed when I went with him to the Oprah Winfrey Show and many other places around Hollywood and elsewhere, he's a rather shy guy. He's always afraid of being associated with people who are bigger than him or who might put him in the shade. But in the end, he's pretty critical of people. He doesn't like Elton John. He doesn't like many of the people who are really famous in the music business. You know, he's critical.
His reputation comes from digging through records, interviewing sources, and examining details that others often overlook.
No, I choose people who don't want to be written about on the whole, whose lives are shrouded in mystery, and they want to hide their secrets, and I just love digging away to find out what they don't want us to know. I wrote 4 years ago a book about Prince Charles, and it was a story about how he had rehabilitated himself after Diana's death, and how Camilla also had to be rehabilitated, and it was a #1. It was a fascinating story.
His books are known for extensive research. Bower has said he spends years interviewing sources, reviewing records, and checking the information he includes before publishing.
The metadata of the picture says that it was taken on May 8th, 2019. And he was born on May 6th, 2019. Can somebody please explain that to us?
In 2022, he released Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors. The book was highly critical of Meghan, portraying her as ambitious, calculating, and willing music to make difficult choices to advance her goals.
So when Meghan came along into the scene, I just thought, this is fascinating. How is this going to play out? To tell the truth, I spoke to very few friends of Meghan because she put a fatwa on anyone talking to me who she could. So I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply.
Those characterizations are Bauer's conclusions and have been strongly disputed by supporters of the Sussexes.
Meghan is a consummate survival actress. And you raise this extraordinary beginning of the year when she carved 2025 in the sand. Mm. And, it's a very, very interesting image that. It came out on New Year's Day this year because the previous weeks had been absolutely turgid and torrid for her. She had been dubbed Duchess Difficult again. There had been allegations of bullying.
Tyrant in high heels.
But one section of the book stood out more than the rest. It wasn't about the royal family or Meghan's marriage to Prince Harry. It focused on something much earlier: her childhood, her rise in Hollywood, and the timeline of events that helped shape her public image.
Not a surprise here because, she lies a lot about her stuff. We've caught her in so many lies. Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling.
According to Bauer, this is where the timeline begins to raise questions. Meghan's publicly recorded birth date is August 4th, 1981. Which means she is 44 years old as of July 2026. But Bauer argues that other details from her early life deserve a closer look. And that is where the controversy begins.
August 4th, 40 years ago, Meghan was born, and she was born as a C-section, so she was put in my office.
But Bauer has argued that records he reviewed point to a different timeline, leading him to question whether Meghan could be older than her publicly reported age. Those claims have not been verified and conflict with her widely documented birth date of August 4th, 1981. Even so, the allegations attracted significant attention, and the debate quickly spread across the media and online, bringing renewed scrutiny to Meghan and her team. Let's start with one of the records Bauer highlights most often. He points to a March 1997 issue of 17 magazine that, according to his account, listed Meghan Markle as 21 years old. If that age had been correct, it would conflict with Meghan's publicly documented birth year of 1981, when she would have been 15 years old for most of March 1997, turning 16 later that August. Bauer argues that this apparent discrepancy deserves closer examination, while others have suggested it could simply have been a publishing error rather than evidence of a false birth date.
What the hell is going on with this woman? Is she adopted or is she just a natural? Is she such a liar she can't even understand that we can all see her?
Bauer says he didn't rely on a single article before raising these questions. According to him, he checked the publication details, reviewed archived copies, and confirmed that the magazine issue itself was authentic.
If Meghan Markle is 5 or 6 and Ralph's already had finished their advertising for 199 the Porterhouse in 1982, and Meghan claims that she was born in 1981 and she's 5, that means that she would allegedly be standing in this picture in 1986, 1987, which doesn't make sense because, as I said, Ralph's had pulled out all their ads. But yet here we have Meghan Markle. If she was born in 1971, August 4th, 1971, and she's 5 or 6 years of age, she's right around the time when Ralph was advertising for this kind of specials.
What remains in dispute is whether the age listed in that article was accurate or simply a publishing mistake. Bauer believes the discrepancy is significant, while others argue it could be nothing more than an editorial error. Either way, that wasn't the only record that caught his attention. As he continued digging, he says he found more details that, in his view, made the timeline even harder to ignore.
You're wondering, why does her age matter at all? Because her age would also have an impact on her ability to have children. Because if Meghan Markle is 4 years older than what we have been led to believe, it makes it even more difficult to believe that she was able to get pregnant so quickly. Never mind the hysterectomy stories that her family have told. But that would make it more difficult because that would make Meghan Markle near 50.
Bauer also claimed that Meghan's IMDb page once listed her birth year as 1977 instead of 1981. He argued that the discrepancy raised more questions about her timeline. However, IMDb entries can contain errors and are not official records. So this alone does not prove his claim. Even so, Bauer presented it as another detail supporting his investigation.
I believe she had a clear motive for writing family off because it would seemingly justify and perhaps delay the revelation of all of the lies that she had told the royal family.
In Hollywood, an actor's age can influence the roles they're considered for. Bauer suggested that this could explain why different ages appeared in some records. However, there is no verified evidence that Meghan intentionally changed her age. Bauer says he documented the discrepancies with archived screenshots, which he cites as part of his investigation.
They've stupidly put out so many dumb lies, the car chase, etc., that now nobody believes anything they say. And that's scary and dangerous because it sometimes puts us off in directions that we need to be better about. But man, the more and more I look at and research this stuff, I'm not obsessed with these two. I'm looking at them with a very clear eye.
Northwestern University records show Meghan graduated in 2003 with degrees in theater and international studies. Based on her public birth date, she would have been 22. But Bauer argues that other records he reviewed don't fit that timeline.
I just made a little mark on my board and said, oh, there's another lie, click.
Bauer says he contacted former classmates, reviewed alumni records, and examined photos from Meghan's university years. Based on that material, he argues the timeline raises questions. However, music classmates' current ages do not establish Meghan's age, and there is no verified evidence that her publicly reported birth date is incorrect.
What is going on here? Why the secrecy around this woman's birth certificate? Why the secrecy? Why the mistakes in age that are so blatant for others? And you know what? This is like her education in university, that she claims that she double major in international relations and theater when Northwestern has never given a major in international relations.
Bauer says he reviewed a well-known Northwestern salsa club photo and spoke with several people who appeared in it. According to Bauer, some told him they were born in the early 1970s, which he argues raises questions about Meghan's timeline. However, the ages of other people in the photo do not establish Meghan's age, and the alleged anonymous quote has not been independently verified. Bauer presents these interviews as part of his investigation, but Meghan's publicly reported birth date remains August 4th, 1981.
You can't ignore them if they keep popping up doing stuff like this. That's the thing. We're kind of in a mutually abusive, toxic relationship, aren't we? The media and Harry and Meghan, because they keep doing stuff wanting attention. Then they get quite adverse reaction most of the time. Then they react really badly to the reaction. And so it goes on.
Well, what it really boils down to is the threat they offer. If the threat was punctured, which I hope my book will do.
But Bauer says that's not the end of it. He believes the next detail is even more surprising. Thomas Markle has given many interviews since Meghan married Harry. He's spoken about her childhood, her personality, and their family relationship. But Bauer points out that when questions turn to Meghan's birth year, Thomas has not publicly addressed the issue.
And obviously I spoke to her father, who loves her still very much, and said, in the end, whatever she is, she's still my daughter. You can't beat the real story. I mean, that's the excitement of writing these sort of books, that in the end, nothing beats the truth, the real facts.
Bauer says he asked Thomas Markle about Meghan's birth year while researching his book. According to Bauer's account, Thomas did not give a direct answer, and Music instead told him to check the records yourself.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
Bauer presents that exchange as part of the questions raised in his investigation.
Well, that's her first wedding in Jamaica. That's one of my favorite pictures. I'd like to have that experience with my granddaughter.
Argues that Thomas Markle's response raised more questions for him. He also interviewed Meghan's half-sister, Samantha Markle. Samantha, born in 1964, reportedly told Bauer that the age gap between them was smaller than Meghan's public timeline suggests. Samantha's account has not been independently verified, and Meghan has not accepted those claims. 22.
So before she met Harry, you had no doubt she was your sister.
My little sister, though.
Bauer argues that if Meghan was born in 1981, the age gap with Samantha would be 17 years. He says that if an earlier birth year were correct, the gap would be much smaller and in his view more consistent with Samantha's recollection of growing up closer in age. That remains Bauer's interpretation. And Meghan's publicly reported birth year is still 1981.
This is my little sis. I would have loved to have had siblings. That's why I'm so excited to be pregnant, so that Archie has some.
Let's talk about Meghan's acting career. If she was really born in 1981, she would have been 25 when she appeared on Deal or No Deal in 2006. That fits the public timeline.
Never mind the story about her seeing Ash and stuff like that, because that has been debunked by her father. Her father said that he picked her up and took her to Palm Springs. So that is done and over with. But as usual, like with Meghan Markle, I don't know whether they're the lies, whether they are absolutely a lack of accountability. The only thing that we have to go on right now is that her father says that she was born in the year that she was born.
But Bauer says that after digging into her early career, he found a pattern of struggles and career milestones that, in his view, didn't fully match that timeline. That's where he believes the questions begin.
So I have to ask, is this woman crazy? Is she that much of a liar, or is there something deeper? Because just to give you another example, she claims that she was 13 years of age when she started to work for Humphrey Yogurt, in spite of the fact that Humphrey Yogurt has said that they have never employed anybody at age 13. Number two, she claims that when she started working at Humphrey Yogurt, she ran into Yasmin Bleeth, and that she congratulated Yasmin Bleeth for her deodorant commercial. Yasmin Bleeth didn't do that deodorant commercial until 1997.
In the early 2000s, Meghan was auditioning for almost anything she could get: small speaking parts, background roles, and commercial work. Like many aspiring actors, she spent years trying to break through. Bauer argues that's where the timeline becomes important. He notes that age can influence the types of roles casting directors consider, especially for lesser-known actors, and says that could explain why the question matters so much in his investigation.
Are you telling me that that commercial, which was so pivotal for Meghan Markle, she didn't even bother to watch so she can recount the story and say when I was 12 rather than when I was 11? Because the commercial is out in the public domain, and I will leave the link for you guys to go watch it. It was done when she was 12 years of age. So there is something that is not connecting.
That Meghan's career path reflects someone facing increasing pressure to break into the industry. She didn't land Suits until 2011. Based on her public birth year, she would have been 30. Bauer contends that if she were actually older, it could have affected the roles she was considered for. However, there is no verified evidence that Meghan misrepresented her age, and that remains Bauer's allegation, not an established fact.
Meghan is living a life that she's winning and she's doing all these great things, but the reality is not that. The reality is she's a joke.
Reality is she's a joke. When Archie was born in May 2019, his birth certificate listed the mother's name as Rachel Meghan Markle. A few weeks later, the certificate was amended, removing her first and middle names. After the change, she was identified by her royal title, Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. A revision that attracted significant public attention.
Well, look, Radar Online, in fairness, they do quote you and say Royal Author Lady Colin Campbell recently challenged the conspiracy of silence and misinformation surrounding both Toms.
Bauer says he looked into the change in detail and believes it raises important questions. The amendment to Archie's birth certificate was unusual enough to attract public attention, although there is no official evidence linking it to Meghan's age. Bauer argues that using a royal title instead of Rachel Meghan Markle could make it harder to compare records across different documents. He suggests that if someone searched under her legal name, they might begin comparing school records, passports, music, and other official files. That is Bauer's theory, and he has not presented verified evidence proving it was the reason for the amendment.
He owes it to the public of each and every country of which the king is monarch to clear up any doubts about anybody in the line of succession. Meghan's conduct is what has triggered all of this. Oh, Archie doing a deep dive between the knees. Archie competing with Tom Daley before he was even given birth to. Archie's unique qualities. And we need to remember that Archie was truly unique because his first word was crocodile. And Archie, of course, was the product of a union that maritally started when they were roasting chicken. And I leave it at that. But what I will go back to say, in terms without giving too much levity to their Harry and Meghan's really crazed behavior.
Bauer argues that the change made it more difficult to connect records under Meghan's legal name, and he says that added to his suspicions. Meghan has not accepted that interpretation. When Bauer's book was published, reports from people said to be close to the situation claimed she was deeply unhappy with its release and the allegations it contained.
I just can't stand her. I just think she's such a phony. I love to make fun of her because she continues to give me so much material.
According to Bauer, lawyers representing Meghan challenged aspects of his book and rejected its allegations. He has maintained that his reporting was supported by the material he gathered, including archived publications, records, and interviews. Meghan has not publicly addressed the specific age claims in detail or released additional documents in response. Instead, the dispute remained in the courts of public opinion rather than being settled publicly.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here. I think she has a major problem. And I think as of this week, the signal for her great problem is that she turned up at Kevin Costner's.
Bauer argues that Meghan's silence is meaningful. He says that if the public timeline were completely accurate, releasing additional records could settle the debate. Instead, he claims the questions have gone unanswered. According to Bauer and sources he cites, that's because they believe the available evidence does not support the public narrative. Meghan has not accepted those allegations, and her publicly reported birth date remains August 4th, 1981.
And so he became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationships, never thinking that they could have something to do with himself. So he's a very complicated, depressed, unintelligent man who is seeking a role and has got really nobody on whom he could rely, which is in the end where Meghan stepped in. I mean, a needy man met a woman who could help him with his needs.
Bauer argues that the controversy has become difficult to escape because every new denial keeps the debate alive. He then raises a legal question suggesting that if someone knowingly provided false information on official documents, it could have serious legal consequences. However, Bauer has not presented evidence that Meghan did so, and there is no verified basis for claiming that her marriage could be music annulled over the age allegations alone.
If you think that if the royal family was capable of falsifying death certificates, making up new birth certificates, or simply not showing them at all, it's a walk in the park for them. Because this is why it's incredible that Parliament claims that they don't have any documentation, yet Parliament's job is to ensure that anybody put in the line of succession meets the legal requirements. And that is providing proper birth certificates and a document with the signatures of the doctors who deliver the children, and they have to be made public. But Meghan Markle, in the meantime, is walking around free, thinking about coming back to the UK, buying clothes, or trying to swindle people to get clothes for an award show that Harry wants to do in the United Kingdom.
Bauer says he consulted legal experts while researching his book. According to his account, they discussed the general legal consequences of false information on official documents. However, there is no verified evidence that Meghan provided false information on her marriage documents. and there is no legal finding that her marriage is invalid or that her children's titles or places in the line of succession are in question because of these allegations.
There are so many telltale signs that something is clearly wrong with Meghan. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, how can you get your age so wrong? Did you know that in 1997, when she met Yasmin Bleeth, when she claims that she was working for Humphrey Yogurt, age 13, she also, or somebody with the name Meghan Markle, filled out a questionnaire for Sears, the company, claiming that she was 21 years of age.
Bauer also argues that if a public figure knowingly misrepresented important facts in business agreements, it could create legal or contractual issues. However, he has not presented evidence that Meghan did so with Netflix, Spotify, or any other company. He believes the stakes are high.
When she was 12 years of age. So there is something that is not connecting. There is something that is not right. And I haven't been able to get a hold of a birth certificate, of a copy of her birth certificate. So if any of you can get it for me, please do so. So I started getting some emails from some of the subscribers, and they said, what if Meghan Markle was adopted? What if there's more to her birth than just her age? Could it be that she doesn't know her own age because she's been lied to by her father and mother? Could it be that's why Doria doesn't have a bond with Meghan Markle? Because what mother leaves her daughter when she's 3 or 4 years? Okay, maybe she went to jail. Those are the rumors.
Now, we come to one of the most controversial parts of Bauer's investigation. For years, online rumors have claimed that Meghan has an older daughter from a previous relationship. Music. There is no verified evidence supporting those claims, and Bauer did not confirm them in his book. Instead, he said there were gaps in Meghan's public, music, timeline that, in his view, had never been fully explained. Bauer stopped short of drawing that conclusion himself, leaving the speculation unresolved. Beyond that, the story relies on rumors, anonymous sources, and people who claim to know more, but have not provided verifiable evidence. Without credible proof, those claims remain unsubstantiated.
And there are files about Doria Ragland. We know that in 1996, she was sued for eviction to get evicted from the place where she was living. And there's also a criminal file that nobody can access. So what is really the reality? Because how can nobody correct this woman? She went on Southwest and Texas on that stage with Katie Couric, and Katie Couric asked her, can you please tell us the story when you were 11 years old? I mean, everybody has seen that commercial. It clearly starts with, when I'm Meghan Markle, I'm 12 years old. So what is going on here? Why the secrecy around this woman's birth certificate?
Bauer's book has brought those questions back into the spotlight because, in his view, if there are inconsistencies in Meghan's public timeline, they deserve closer scrutiny. By the end of the book, he does not state a different birth year as fact. Instead, he presents the material he collected and leaves readers to draw their own conclusions. Bauer's overall argument is that Meghan has not been fully transparent about parts of her public biography. Those are Bauer's conclusions, and Meghan has not accepted those allegations.
At that moment last year, she was about to promote her Netflix series and didn't want to, firstly, be seen with Harry, and secondly, didn't want to go somewhere where she'd appear cheap and give it gratis. And this year, she is desperate to be seen. Yeah. And that's why she turned up. So I think she has a major problem, financially and professionally. And I think that Harry has a problem because he's lost his charity centre Bailey in Africa. He's better up, and all these commercial deals are declining. I think that his reputation is somewhat toxic, and I think Invictus is his only lifeline, and there'll be problems with that too.
I mean, we've seen people leaving Invictus recently. Important, I think that's you mentioned the Disney special. Does the Disney special at all?
Bauer argues that the questions extend beyond Meghan's age. In his view, they also involve her education, family relationships, past experiences, and her motivations before joining the royal family. His overall assessment is that Meghan has carefully shaped a public image that he believes does not fully reflect reality. Bauer challenges the way she has presented herself publicly and argues that those inconsistencies deserve closer examination. Meghan has rejected criticism of this kind, but Bauer maintains that his investigation raises important questions he believes have yet to be fully answered.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, I think they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from.
So, is Meghan really 44? Or is Bauer right to question her public timeline? Bauer argues that the records he reviewed raise unanswered questions, while Meghan's publicly reported birth date remains August 4th, 1981. Unless new verified evidence emerges, the debate is likely to continue. If you want more in-depth royal investigations and analysis, subscribe and turn on notifications. There's much more to explore. From Hollywood Confidential, Tom Bauer publishing related for you recently uploaded watched.